Hey, vinyl community, George here, George Allen LPs and CDs. And I am doing my entry today into the 2022 VC Community Lottery. And this is being hosted by Robert Z. And this is a contest that's been going on for a couple years, I guess. And this is the first time I'm participating. And I'm kind of excited about doing this, but I'm a little bit nervous too, because there's a bunch of stuff that I have to do, and so I'm going to be doing a little bit of wandering around the music room here after I show a few things. So you're going to have to be a little patient with me. And but I know you guys are a patient bunch of people, guys and gals. And this is the theme of this year's lottery is you as a collector. And so who doesn't like talking about being a collector and their record collection? Well, everybody likes to talk about it. And that's why we're here, because we like to talk about it. And you know, I started out, I guess, well, I've been in and out of it. First started as a teenager. And, you know, of course, like most folks, my age especially, I had some of my first records were of the Beatles. I think I saw her Want to Hold Your Hand, and I saw her standing there. I think it was my very first record. Then I think the second record I bought was Jan and Dean's Little Old Lady from Pasadena. Then I bought, you know, a bunch of those other types of 45s, all having to do with cars and beach music and stuff. Then I got turned on to the Rolling Stones. Well, I started working then. Had a paper route, worked at a car wash, and I really got turned into buying albums. I kept thinking, why do I want to just, you know, a little single if I can get me a whole album? So that's what I got into next. But what really got me, I guess, kind of juiced up about music itself was when, I'll show you the albums that really got me started juiced up about music. When this album came out, and then this album came out. Yep, Hendrix and the Doors. Because I thought, I was 16 at the time when these things came out. I thought, man, this is really, really different type of music. And that was just really something else. So in 1967, 16, that was just something else. Boy, I just really liked that. Then a lot of other stuff started coming out, you know, and got the Fresh Cream came out. Unfortunately, due to some sad circumstances, I lost a lot of those original albums. And you know, I've heard stories, many stories in the vinyl community, how people, for whatever reason, either sold their original collection through different moves, you know, lost them, or going away to college or military, just seemed to lose them. After I got married, we moved from Pennsylvania to Miami, and you know, all of a sudden vinyl was out, CDs were in, and I had my record collection in the house, and my wife says, "Hey, you know, those records are taking up a lot of room. Why don't you just stick them in the garage?" And I'm like, well, I didn't even have a turntable set up at that time because CDs were, you know, the big thing. And this was in the mid 80s. And I said, well, yeah, you know, you're right. I didn't have a turntable anymore. And, you know, CDs were hot. We had a 5 CD changer, you know. And so I said, okay, I'll stick them out in the garage. Well, the garage, you know, didn't have an air conditioner or anything in it. And after a couple years, I happened to look at them one day because I was moving some stuff in the garage, and they were all molded and damp. They were just like ruined, you know. So I thought, oh man, I can't believe it. So I lost a minimum 200 of the records. I probably had maybe about 50 or 60 of those original ones left. Plus then when Hurricane Andrew had hit, that was like the year before that happened, a couple of years before that happened. We were living in an apartment waiting for this house to be built. They were sitting behind a couch, and we didn't know it, but water had seeped through the wall and ruined probably about a box or 2 of them. So putting that all together, I probably lost over 300 of my albums. And those are some of my old originals, you know, like my old original Doors, Hendrix, Cream albums. A lot of my good originals were gone. So anyhow, I kept thinking, well, that's okay. CDs are out, man. You know, I'll just get them on CD and stuff. But it just didn't seem to be the same. So rebuilding since then, trying to get everything back in. And what happened was then, as I started getting back into it, I was watching first on YouTube. I was watching some audio guys because for a while when I was getting out of college, I was working at selling audio equipment. So I still had an interest in that. So I was watching like Steve Guttenberg. I happened to catch him mention something about this guy Michael Fremer, who still writes for Stereophile magazine. And so here Michael Fremer not just writes about audio equipment, but he's a big time, you know, record collector. If you watch any of his videos that done from his house, this guy must have like about I don't know, like 20, 30,000 records. And he has some great information on record collecting. So I was watching, you know, Michael Fremer, and I thought, well, man, this guy's really into records and stuff. So that kind of got me, you know, interested in that. And that's how I ended up crossing over into the vinyl community then. And I started watching guys like Ron Baldry and Norman Maslow and a few other people. And then, of course, then I started watching like Steve Carlson, and then that led me into, I was checking out who else was watching him, and that's how I started watching, you know, like Chris Profey and Gary from Physical, you know, Format Rock and Roll, and that led me into, you know, like Jeff Witcher and Aaron Mutha Alomar, and oh, I could just go on naming them all day long, and so many good guys, and a lot more recently, and the old Goat, and you know, Rod the Happy Hippie Vinyl Collector, and there's just so many guys that I've been watching that have been a great influence on market. Mad for vinyl now. Some of these guys are just tremendous collectors, and you'll see what I have is kind of like a pales compared to some of what these guys have. But it's still just, intense interest in it. I just, I don't know what it is that drives us into this, finding the next, Robert's on my turntable, and Glenn Calloway and those Canadian guys, they're just, it's just astounding. And so going back and trying to build again, at first I was just like Jonathan, cheap and cheerful record collector, whatever he is, Jonathan. I have watched him almost from the beginning when he first started. And at first I was really cheap at it too. I'd hit whenever I was traveling or going places, going back home, visiting family or something, I'd hit all the Goodwills, all the thrift stores. And so I was learning, I'm going to hit record cleaning in a bit. So I had to learn record cleaning real fast. And but that's what I was doing at first. And I picked up some interesting stuff too. Stuff that I wouldn't never thought of normally buying. But also I shop Discogs. I've found a few good vendors that are very trustworthy in their ratings. And eBay, not so much. eBay, I will shop for a better price on new stuff. That's what I like eBay for. Amazon, Amazon I send back sometimes almost as much as I buy. Blue Note, I wait for Blue Note sales. When Blue Note has a sale, when they, spend over $80, free shipment, 20% off, good deal. Music Direct sometimes when they have a sale, or Acoustic Sound sometimes too. They have some good deals. So one of the other things I do, and I got it buried here under all this stuff, and I didn't mean to bury it. And this is what's going to happen here. I like to, one of the things I like to do, see this magazine? Downbeat. In here, this is the April issue. You see right down here it says, "We love vinyl." In here they have, I think, like 12 or 14 pages of reviews of music. And it's not all necessarily just jazz. They'll hit on blues, rhythm and blues, and they give some terrific reviews on stuff. Like here's a review on Lee Oscar's latest album, and you'll say, wow, who's Lee Oskar? Okay, a lot of guys been raving about the band War. Lee Oskar was one of the original members of War. He played harmonica for them. So, good magazine to pick up, Well, if you're only into death metal, no, don't bother picking up Downbeat. But if you like all types of music, it's worth picking up. Great review. I've found some wonderful music through looking at their reviews. So I wanted to put a plug in for them. So that's it on the collecting. Cleaning. I have actually written out a while back on cleaning vinyl records, which if anybody is interested at all, I could email you this, what I do. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I have a formula which is not a big secret. It is comprised of distilled water, 75%, 25%, or 23 or 24% isopropyl alcohol, then 6 drops of Dawn dish soap and 3 drops of dishwasher rinse aid, which you can use various brands. You can use Cascade, you could use Walmart's rinse aid. That's very important to add. So that's what you use for a cleaner. And you can find that some places on the internet too. The big important thing I've found is rinsing it with, once you spray and clean it. And I've seen Jeff do this on his video, using this pad, painter's pad, to clean them. But then what I do is I take an extra step and I rinse them with distilled water. I think that's very important. And what I use to protect the labels is, I bought this on Amazon. These plates mount over the label, and they're held on with these thumb screws here. So you don't have to worry about, getting any of that fluid on your labels. Because that was all, from the first time I started cleaning, that was one of my biggest concerns, was getting stuff on the labels. And so let me throw this all down here. I'll get this out of the way. Microfiber cloths are very important. You can buy them real inexpensively at Dollar Tree. So anyhow, I got the instructions. Everybody wants them, I'd gladly email them to you. Or you can say, well, guess what, George, I got my own method. I could care less. So after that, I put them in Invest in Vinyl, inner sleeves. I have 2 different, which is similar to MoFi. I do use MoFi too, when sometimes you can find a better deal on them. I have 2 different outer sleeves. Typically, for a long time, I was using these heavier ones, which aren't as clear. Recently, I've been buying these MoFi clearer ones. I kind of like these better. That's up to you, whether you want them fancier or not. I don't know. It's up to you. It's a personal thing. So anyhow, let's see. What else did I want to talk about? Well, music in general too. Let me just philosophize here for a second. One of the things I've learned in the vinyl community is that every channel eventually seems to have its own type of voice, you might say. And its voice is the type of music, basically, that the person who is making the videos, the type of music they like. And that's the one thing that I generally appreciate about it, because you have some people like, let's say, Americana type music. And that's wonderful, because prior to there being a lot of some videos posted about Americana music, I was not real familiar too much with it, except maybe if I picked up certain type of, say, an album or CD at somewhere cheap, I'd get it, okay? Some like, heavy metal, and that's okay. And then there's a couple channels, or 1 or 2 channels, that are into world music or blues. And, oh, that's right, I wanted to mention that about, yes, Chris, blues vinyl guy. I think I got his name all messed up there, but I like his channel too. Learned a lot about blues from him. And so he's into the blues. Also, there's the Ralstonian channel, Steve. He's into blues too. See, so the more I think about it, there's a lot of channels that have had an influence, and I buy some stuff because of these guys. They open up a new world to me. And Chris at Musically Obsessed, he's into a lot of vocalists. He's into some other heavier stuff that I'm not into necessarily. But I've bought stuff because Chris is showing it, and I thought, wow, you know, that's something I would have not thought of buying. And so I go out and I buy it. Now sometimes I listen to some things that somebody mentions that's new, and I say, well, you know, that's one thing nice about Spotify, you get to preview it. It's not like you just have to go out and buy it and you get it and go, oh, you know, I wish I'd have been able to hear this ahead of time, you know. And hopefully there's some stuff that I show occasionally. Oh, up on the wall back there, Mr. Flood's Party. After I started listening to these, 67, 2 years later, I found Mr. Flood's Party, and oh, that got me into psych music. Well, then 69 was a big year for a lot of other music. You know, Blind Faith, King Crimson. But I'll tell you what, I heard Mr. Flood's Party, and that really blew my mind too. I'll tell you, King Crimson, it was kind of like the icing on the cake, but Mr. Flood's Party really is coming. But I'm wandering around now. Anyhow, I want to show you a few things, so I'm going to have to move some stuff here. So I wanted to show you, and I apologize, I do not know how to edit. So I'm going to end this video with giving you a little bit of show of my room, because I'm going to show you my albums, records, my CDs, my stereo system. Okay? Appreciate you all watching this. Now you get to see the better stuff instead of just seeing me. Those are my Klipsch speakers there, bookshelf on fancy stands. And that is the beginning of my albums. Up on top is my NAD CD player, my Yamaha receiver. The records here are everything but my jazz and classical. Yeah, my Yamaha receiver in the center. That's my project debut turntable. Right now I have an Audio-Technica cartridge in it, but I do have a Samuco cartridge that I plan to put in it someday. There's my other Klipsch speaker. Down below there is my Klipsch subwoofer. Whoops, sorry about that. Then we have these other stand-up bin of records. And the top two bins there are jazz, and the lower bin are classical. I'm trying to get my foothold as I turn around here. Then we have several racks of CDs. There's 3 racks of CDs. And way at the bottom there, you're going to see some cassettes. I got a few of those from the old goat, some country and western CDs he didn't want, and then I got a few CDs I just purchased. I got a cassettes, yeah. I got a cassette deck that I bought off of eBay, should be arriving in the next day or two. Then I got some DVDs of concerts and stuff, mostly Procol Harum. I got some Sade, and there's a Rolling Stone DVD of concert from a few years back. My one lone drum I have left, and that's my Victrola there. It was made in 1913. It came from England. And I have underneath it are a bunch of 78s. I got my mom's Frank Sinatra collection and a few other big bands. And that's basically the room tour, my dear friends in the vinyl community. And that's going to bring this all to an end. Oh, look up on the wall. My little tribute to Procol Harum, the sheet music for Whiter Shade of Pale, and an old 45 that I found of Whiter Shade of Pale with some concert tickets. It's all framed up there together. So I'm going to close off. Thank you for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Bye-bye.